Alright, Vanguard had its playtest release yesterday. I had a chance to log in today amongst an hour of troubles, but that didn't set me back after reloading the game consistently, constantly, and also reloading the cache data, and also verifying the files, following up by also reinstalling the game constantly. It's a really rough start. My first match alone left me broken and a bit disoriented, if I'm being honest, because I was unaware and I got a bit ballsy with the acid pool that I walked into and thinking I could loot and outdo the healing. Boy, was I wrong. Next up, the other few matches I had just ended it the same way: death, dying, and honestly, I think I've learned the hard way of just firing on sight is not entirely what the community wants right now. I'm treating it like Marathon, where you just kill on sight. But what surprised me was at a point where I spotted a duo, and as I tried to run away from them, they decided to be actually rather nice and pick me up, which really surprised me. And considering more of the fact that revives are free to anyone you down. So more than anything, I think it's good you can talk it out with the enemy at one point if you enable proximity chat. However, at the same point, it does something a lot better than what Arc Raiders does, only in a single instance though, is that you don't have to craft an item separately to bring somebody back. Now, automatically, to me, that's a system I love from the get-go, because I shot on sight with this duo, got outnumbered and outmaneuvered, and I accepted the fact that I was going to go back to the lobby. Instead, I ended up getting picked up, and I made it all the way to the extraction, which really took me off guard. More than anything, because I treated it like a marathon from the get-go. And knowing what the EVE base is like and its community, that I thought shoot on sight would be the more appropriate reaction for this playtest. But a lot of players are seemingly nice. You'll run into a lot of good folk who want to help you, and more or less, I did do a few matches in particular, and my favorite one I ever did was with two players where we ran to the top of a spire and faced off a bunch of bosses. And mind you, I got my ass beat and I went down in a fight, and that was a lot of fun. But the loot afterwards is phenomenal. Sold for a lot, and it was rather really enjoyable. Altogether though, the playtest is fantastic in terms of a social aspect because people are willing to help you and they're kind of stuck in the same pool you are for where you're at with loot. And more than anything, I think it's rather really good at showing off that it's okay to help other players because I'm yet to do this myself and I'd rather return the favor if I can. However, the playtesters lock you into three sort of weird weapons. You've got a beam slash sniper rifle, if you want to call it that. Think of more of a trace rifle, but extremely long range. It does alright damage. I did kill one person with it, and it was okay. First player, actually, because I love my weapons from EVE Online, and I thought, oh, they'd be the same. And they were, but I wasn't expecting this thing to be a sniper. I treated it more like a medium range DMR, and it was rather an interesting fight. Which, yeah, hipfire spamming was not the best strategy there. The other two weapons are rather bizarre. The shotgun is rather clunky. It has a hell of a lot of kickback if you don't add the correct chipset to bringing that down. And the SMG is also phenomenal. It doesn't hit very hard, but it is really decent in terms of picking enemies off more than anything. And being the only PvE enemies of Mordor's Legion, I expected a lot more, realistically speaking. But in the boss fight on the Spire that I cannot remember the location name for the life of me, we had a lot of fun trying to poke around, trying new weapons, trying different strategies. We used shields, we used grenades, and fighting all the way to the top felt clunky. It felt slow, it felt weird, it felt unpolished, but it is a playtest, so I'll hold back a bit on my criticism, which is going to come later in the video here. However, more than anything, I expected a bigger boss fight, not just two tanks with machine guns at their hips. It was rather bizarre. And it took some figuring out for us to get the strategy down on how to beat them because every time we stepped out behind cover, we were getting beamed down by a hail of bullets, and it was quite terrifying, honestly. Until we had a brief discussion behind cover and sort of thought, oh, well, let's just shoot at their backs, and that kind of worked, weirdly enough. So it really encourages you to work with your friends, or randoms in this case, for me, to kind of beat every encounter and to also extract. In terms of inventory space, though, the game does a fantastic job of just throwing items at you if you loot and keep on looting. It's phenomenal. It's brilliant. And towards the end, I ended up walking with a massive, humongous inventory, minus burning through most of my ammunition through the fights. And it was rather different from what I anticipated altogether, because from my experience with Marathon and with Arc Raiders, I was expecting limited space, smaller runs, grab and goes, not just taking a whole hiking backpack worth of loot home with me, more than anything. And mind you, the loot pool is very small. It's chipsets, it's combat augments, sights, blueprints. It's mixed. It's small, and for a playtest, it's enough. But more than anything, I expected a lot more. My expectations were a little bit like a bit above the bar for this. More than anything, I was expecting more of a beta phase, as in, hey, come check out the game. Here's what's to offer. But 3 weapons, a bunch of chipsets, a few sights, a few modifications, no character customization as of yet, no tutorial, no intro cutscene. The game doesn't really hold your hand for a playtest, which is honestly half expected, but also not, because there has been a lot of complaints that it's bare bones, it feels unfinished. This is a joke of a playtest. Is this really what we're going to be getting in the next couple of months as a final product? And for the basic bare bone with no meat on it, I'll say it's good. For their true succession towards 5.14, they've done pretty decent so far for Vanguard, and I think criticizing it at its current state is valid because they need the feedback, but also it doesn't need to be more than it already currently is. I mean, after all, this is an alpha playtest. This isn't beta, and there is a lot more developmental stages to come. And in a market where extraction shooters currently aren't doing so well, they're at a point where things are changing around a bit. They're leaning towards what Helldiver games kind of style with 4-man teams. I mean, I can put my hands at Dark Tide and Space Marine 2 there, for example, and a few other others. Hero shooters are up and down. In a market as it stands, it has a position, a unique position to do something fantastic. And they did say this links with EVE Online. So whether or not this comes to fruition in its total entirety is yet to be seen. The game has a lot of potential. Head to toe, I will not deny that. But what it needs is more flesh. If they want to make it at the scale at which they're promising, it won't take the launch. It will take a year or 2 after launch to build it to what they want it to be. The final vision is not going to be there on release. It's clear. It's so obvious. Because the playtest alone, you're on one planet. You have, I want to say, 8 to 10 zones altogether. Didn't quite count them. The gunplay's great. Solid, smooth. Hitboxes are a bit weird. Social interaction is not very much there. There's no on-screen indication when you're talking to other players in terms of, hey, there's a microphone symbol showing I'm talking. And at one point, I was actually quite surprised in a random match that I heard someone using proximity chat because I thought I was hearing noise outside of my neighborhood. But no, it was someone talking, yapping to a friend, just unknowingly on proximity. As it stands, Vanguard is at a good position. It is a point to improve, and that is good. That is what this game has done right with this playtest. But it is up to CCP and the team who are working on Vanguard to make it to the position that it needs to be in. For launch, it's not going to impress everybody. It's not going to be good. It's not going to do numbers. It's not going to draw in a massive crowd. It's a very limited market being in an extraction shoot. And as it stands, competing in a pit against, say, Marathon and Arc Raiders, you can do a lot. But making sure that the social aspect is a key player in this can really make or break the game. Marathon players will shoot on sight, and Arc Raider players solos will not shoot on sight. They are very friendly, but versus the duos, they won't be so friendly. The EVE community needs to decide where this game is going to stand. Is it the middle ground? Is it 50-50? Is it shoot on sight or not shoot on sight? And that's something that I think is a discussion that needs to happen, but it won't happen in this video because it's not what this is about. On the technical side of things, though, there's a lot to be discussed. Textures are weirdly okay for a quality that they're at. Physics are odd. I wasn't happy with falling down hills I thought were actually climbable, in my personal opinion. Multiple occasions I found myself slipping. I found myself slipping as well off crates, down into pools of, I'm going to assume it's acid, which I wasn't pleasantly happy about either, because to me that just seemed logically like a flat surface and was more flat basic. Liquid effects are non-existent, not surprising. If you walk through acid, that's not going to happen as well. It's gloopy, it's not exactly there. For a playtest, it's limited, so we're going to bring the expectation for that a bit lower. Gunplay, as I've said before, is fantastic. Head to toe. All 3 weapons are fantastic. Beam rifle, the shotgun, and the SMG. What I'd love is if they give the players an ability to focus on being more social with their friends, such as more than just a ping, but I'm assuming the full game is going to have a full emote wheel, call-outs, voice lines, however it is. And as it stands, it's not a bad playtest. I've played worse, and overall, there's a lot. It leaves a lot to be desired. It's clunky, it's basic, it feels like you've just walked into a demo room at a convention, and overall it's someone's Timmy's there with his overheated PC just running this on Unreal Engine quickly as a small demo. It works well, it works good, it works fantastic, but the problems lie underneath, which is that the Mordor's Legion, I'll say it straight up, voice acting sounds like they're just whispering, or they have a croaky voice, or they had someone record it in a booth that had literally 5 seconds to say a few words. That's how it comes across to me anyway. Enemy tolerance levels when they see you as well, they turn yellow really quickly, and the range at which they detect you as well is super massive, and they will just not detect you. But the second you're like about to come up to them, even from like a 10-meter range, then they'll look at you and be like, hang on. And then the bar, it feels really slow, and by the time they realize who you are, and you've already started shooting at them. So the AI and the NPC work needs improvement on that half, I think, personally speaking. Altogether, it feels clunky, it feels weird, and there were booting issues which I've already said on my TikTok about, and it took me an hour to get up because I had to go through the cache, and I had to go through verifying the files twice, and I had to reinstall and uninstall about probably 4 or 5 times before the game finally recognized I was in the correct version to be playable with. It didn't recognize my Steam account straight off, which I have also noted all over Reddit and other places. They have said the same thing, that the engine has problems. Not sorry, the engine, the launcher, and it was very frustrating to deal with for a very long time before everything went up properly. Lastly, I think, will this game release in Q3 as it says on the Steam page? I don't think so. I think it needs another year in the oven, at least another year. It's not coming Q3 of 2026. It's not happening. No way at all. If it does, it has to compete with GTA 6, and that is alone a mammoth of a problem to deal with, and a mountain and a half, and it shouldn't limit itself or put itself under such an immense shadow at that point of the year. It really shouldn't. It's doing fantastic. It looks fantastic. It feels fantastic. It has the E feel to it. What it just needs is that little sparkle, that little more polish, and a lot more chucked at it in terms of what content you can do and everything in between. Another 6 months in the oven, maybe a year, and then I'd say definitely put it on the table, see what the fans think. But as for now, it has just been very quiet all over its Discord. Its Instagram only popped up recently with tons of new posts about the playtest, so they're really trying to flog this, and they're really trying to put the effort in to get it out there and say, hey, come check the game out. We could do with the feedback. We can do with what players want to know, which is healthy, and I think that's a fantastic idea to do. But they should have built up more hype towards this, because the only people that are going to play this at this current stage that it's in are those that are interested in EVE Online, those interested in an FPS EVE, or those who are nostalgic, like myself, for Dust 514. It has the potential, which is a very dangerous word here, to succeed it, but it has to be built on correctly to do so. It's a very dangerous field, it's very shaky, and it can do really well in this market by doing things others extraction shooters are not. Altogether though, I hope you've all really enjoyed listening to me ramble about the game. I hope you've enjoyed me giving my insights and my own opinions. But yeah, please do check the game out and just give it an hour of your time. I've given it 3 of mine. It was worth it. It was fantastic. It was very odd, and it was very clunky, but it was enjoyable altogether. But yeah, the game has a long way to go, so I'm going to keep you guys updated, and we're going to see how it goes. So as usual, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.